Neuropathy doesn't always feel like pain. Sometimes it's much sneakier. I'm Dr. John Smith with the Neuropathy Doctors. My wife and I help people all over the country who are dealing with peripheral neuropathy. We help them reverse it. We help them get their lives back, and we help them do it from the comfort of their own homes. Today, what I want to talk to you about is what neuropathy actually feels like. If your feet feel strange and you're not really sure what it is and nobody can explain why, then this is the video for you. A lot of people associate neuropathy with pain, but it doesn't always start with pain. Sometimes it's numbness. Sometimes it's just weird shock sensations in one or two toes. Sometimes it's a tingling sensation. But either way, a lot of times when it starts out really insidiously. And so because of that nature, people tend to ignore it. The problem is, if they ignore it too long, that's when the thing really takes over your feet and can have damaging impact on the quality of your life. So let's start with what we hear from our clients really in the beginning, what they describe their neuropathy like before those symptoms start disrupting their life. You know, people are all over the board with this. We've had clients who tell us that it just started in one toe. In that one toe, it stayed that way for years. So they just ignored it until it started going into the rest of their toes and the rest of their feet. There's people who experience tingling, whether this is just after a long walk or whether this is in the nighttime when they're trying to get some sleep. Their feet will start to tingle. A lot of times the tingling is in the toes and in the top of the feet. And then you have the people who start to notice the burning. And this is really common when people are trying to sleep. So this isn't one of the symptoms that's necessarily evident when it's just at its early stages. By the time people have started getting to the burning stage, your neuropathy is already starting to advance a little bit more. But this is really where it starts becoming disruptive to your life, because people are constantly trying to kick their feet out from under the sheets or hang their feet off of the side of the bed because that's the only thing they can do to stop the tingling and burning. So they're trying to get some sleep at night. Then there's sharp stabbing pains. People, their feet will be fine 1 minute and they'll get these sharp stabbing, stinging sensations. That's really confusing what that is. The next thing is cramping. People may notice that their toes just start cramping randomly. So the first thing is they try to increase their water intake, or they start eating more bananas because they want more potassium. But it's part of really one of the things that is neuropathy, is these cramping symptoms. It's not necessarily always pain with this thing. And then there's the temperature sensation differences, where your feet can feel like they're on fire, even though to the touch, they feel normal. They can feel ice cold, even though you've got socks on, even though they're under a blanket, even though it's the summertime. These temperature sensation differences are another early warning sign that neuropathy is starting to progress. But neuropathy isn't just how you feel. It's also about changing how you move, how confident or how much your confidence really takes a hit in doing the normal day-to-day activities and living your life the way that you want to. This is when neuropathy really starts having an impact that cannot be ignored. One of the big things that we really hear from people all the time is how their balance is being affected. These are people who just going for a walk, all of a sudden they start feeling like they're unsteady. Walking through the store, they feel like they have to hold onto the shopping cart more tightly because they just don't feel comfortable on their feet anymore. People start tripping. They start looking at their feet when they're walking more. And this looking at your feet completely changes your center of gravity. So then that throws your balance off even more. So this is a real nasty cycle, a snowball effect that happens when people's balance is being interrupted because of neuropathy. And here's what you have to understand. The balance is being interrupted because the symptoms that you're experiencing, the feedback that your brain is getting from your feet is completely misconstrued. So then the output, which is your ability to walk normally, becomes real disrupted from that. These are people who love to walk. They love to walk, whether it was going out and walking the dog or maybe just walking with their spouse. And they don't feel confident doing that anymore. These are people who they get worried about having to get up to go to the restroom in the middle of the night because they can't walk in the dark anymore. They're running into walls or running into furniture. These are people who do everything they can to avoid stairs because they're just not navigating stairs the way they used to because of the way their feet are changing, because of the way that it's affecting their balance. And there's one more piece that people don't talk about enough when it comes to neuropathy, and that's the emotional side of it. This thing takes a real toll on your psyche. This takes a real toll on your mental health, on your enjoyment, your overall happiness in life. When you start noticing that this condition is creeping up on you and you feel helpless to stop it, that causes a lot of anxiety for people. And so when you bring it up to your doctor and they tell you that you're going to have to live with it, that there's no cure for it, not only is that completely untrue, but it's devastating to people emotionally, because they go home and they start Googling it and they run into sources that are well reputable sources that tell them the same thing. And the problem with this is that creates a real emotional roller coaster of people starting to wonder what this is going to lead to. Because remember, before it might have only been in a toe or in the front of the feet. And now all of a sudden it's the whole foot. It's both feet. It's climbing up the ankle. And so this is where people really start becoming emotionally anxious, because they're worried that they may end up having to have an amputation. They're wondering how their life is really going to look because of this. Here's the issue with that. Most people, just by our nature, we don't want to just accept that there's no cure. So when we start Googling this thing and we come up with the creams and we come up with the gadgets and we try those and then they don't work, because neuropathy requires so much more than that to reverse, to overcome it, then all that does is feed into the false narrative that there's nothing that you can do about it. And when that starts to be reinforced, the anxiety goes up even more. The anxiousness goes up even more. People become angry because they're just convinced that there's absolutely nothing they can do, and they can't imagine living the rest of their life like this. That emotional toll is real and it's powerful. And it's one of the things that we really work with our clients about to help them overcome. The first thing you have to understand is there's hope. This thing can be beaten. This thing can be overcome. You just have to do it the right way. And most doctors really don't know what they're talking about or how to help these patients when it comes to peripheral neuropathy. Then there's the fear of falling, the losing the independence. People don't want to leave their home. People are worried about fracturing a hip or knee if they fall. Again, this kind of goes back to the balance issue. Balance becomes problematic, then the fear of falling increases, then the emotional anxiety of how this is all impacting your life starts to increase too. Then there's the activities. There's a social part of this that becomes impacted. We meet with people all the time who they don't go take that trip to see their grandchildren. I've got a new grandbaby across the country and I haven't booked that trip yet because I don't feel comfortable even walking through the airport. My goodness, there's people who they do have a trip booked. They booked that once in a lifetime trip with their spouse and it's coming up in 4 months or 6 months. And they're petrified because they've spent all this money on this vacation. And right now they can't even walk to the end of the street. How are they going to navigate walking through Italy or Greece or wherever it is? This fear, this toll of, oh my God, is this going to be a waste of money to go on this vacation? Am I going to ruin this vacation for my spouse because I can't keep up? Should we cancel it? Should we even go in the first place? There's people who love to golf. They can't walk the course anymore. They certainly can't play like they used to. But then there's the social aspect of it too, where they used to meet with their friends and now they can't do it. And so there's this embarrassment because they don't want to tell their friends that they can't be there anymore because their feet are bothering them so bad. And then there's this side of the fact that if they played golf, for example, if they played pickleball, they can't be the same player that they used to be. And so this is another layer of just kind of the emotional toll that this condition takes on people. And then there's the quiet stress, the wondering what's next. Am I going to end up in a wheelchair? Am I going to end up getting my legs amputated? There's the loss of sleep, not just from the burning and the tingling symptoms that don't seem to go away, but the wondering what the heck is going to become of their life if this continues. What's their retirement going to look like? How's quality of life going to be in their golden years? And it's not good. That stress that people carry around inside with this, because it's a silent condition, it's very real and it's very powerful. So if any of this hits home for you, if any of this really resonates, you're not imagining it. This is a real condition and it needs to be taken care of early, not later on. You know, again, this is kind of one of those things where I tell people one of the biggest problems with neuropathy is how just slowly and gradually it starts for most people. Certainly we've had some people who've said that it comes on very suddenly, but for most people, it really starts pretty gradually. But the danger in that is the gradual nature of it is easy to ignore. We just assume or we hope that it's going to go away all by itself. And so people will live with this as it's progressing. When it's easiest to turn around, they'll live with this for years. By the time that it's overtaken both of their feet and their legs, It's kind of like that person that gains 5 pounds, 10 pounds, and next thing you know, they're 100 pounds overweight, and this monster feels so much bigger to tackle. Neuropathy is very similar in that fashion. The challenge is most doctors aren't trained to look at neuropathy in the right way. Even if they recognize it, then the standard MO is just prescribe some gabapentin or prescribe some Lyrica. They don't really understand the conditions, so they don't understand what to even tell their patients about what to do about it. But when you understand the signs and when you understand what the nerves do actually need, then you can start moving in the right direction. You can put that nonsense aside that there's no cure, there's nothing you can do. That's absolutely a false narrative. But you have to understand what you do need to do. You have to understand what does actually work. You have to actually work with doctors who know what they're doing, who've actually helped people through this process and help people get to where you need to go. We actually walk people through this exact process in our free training. There's a link in the description below here, but if you're a person who doesn't want the guesswork anymore, who doesn't want to just flounder around and have no idea what to do about this thing, then I really encourage you, get yourself registered for that thing, take a listen through that and learn more about this condition. Get your hopes up, because this doesn't have to overtake your life. So here's what I tell you. If you're watching this video and you're starting to notice these strange sensations in your feet, don't ignore them. You know, the symptoms, they're unique. They're individual to each person. Everybody's got a unique combination of symptoms. Again, some people don't even have pain. Some people have pain, but they don't have numbness. Pain, numbness, tingling, cramping, burning, these are the most common symptoms people have, but people also experience swelling. They experience the temperature differences. They experience the sharp stabbing sensations. They experience the sleep disturbances. So these are the symptoms that are most common, but again, everybody's combination is a little bit differently. Either way, if you're noticing the progression of these symptoms, do something about it. The onus is on you to do something about it. Don't believe that false narrative that there's absolutely nothing you can do or that there's no cure for this. We've proven that wrong thousands of times. And, we're going to bring you more information like this on this YouTube channel. It's brand new for us. So give it a like button, subscribe to the channel. We're going to hopefully try to post a video every single week so we can start educating so many people out there who are feeling helpless about neuropathy and don't know where to turn. We want to help, number one, lift your spirits, but number two, give you some direction so you know where to go with this thing, okay? And if you've ever wondered why most neuropathy treatments fail and what your nerves actually need to heal, then Dr. Irven covered that in our last video. So you can check that out right here, and we'll see you next time.